If you know Nick today, you can see that even as a young lad, he was a driven human being.
He always was an exceptional talent, meticulous preparation, and you can see it right from the beginning.
He's a driven man who's done a lot of fantastic things. That's why he's a Sir.
You just knew right from the beginning you were talking to a champion.
I gave the famous line that I hoped after I played golf that people would say, I watched Nick Faldo play. And they do talk about that, and I'm really touched when they say, wow, I had a great day. These guys, I got on the train and I went all the way up to Scotland and ended up at Muirfield and I watched you play and you won. I go back on the train and they tell you their story and it's a really meaningful day in their lives. And I think, wow, that's quite something because I'm just doing my thing. And then people, so I'm really touched that they've been touched in that way. So, you know, and then when I watch some old footage, I think, wow, you know, I could play. You know, as I said, I could play on a Sunday afternoon, as I call it. I made that decision at 15, yeah. I mean, I watched golf just before I was 14. I always say 13 and 3/4 because I watched the Masters in 1971 and I saw Nicklaus and saw these wonderful tall pines and I thought, well, that's really cool. Literally went to my parents the next day, said, I want to try golf. So I started with that and then my next door neighbor gave me 2 clubs, gave me a 7 and 8 iron. He played at the club. You know, remember those ones with the plastic, so they looked like hickory, had the plastic around the steel? Big-headed things and leather grips. And then I went rummaging in the bushes to find golf balls. And then my mum, being a dressmaker, sewed me a practice bag. So I had a little practice bag and I had about 20 balls in it. And it's funny, I then used to go to the school playing field just up the road, 200 yards up the road, and tip these balls out and I used to hit them into the long jump pit. You know, down the line, it'd be like a line from a football pitch, say, and there'll be a long jump pit at the end. So I'd hit these 8s and 7 irons in. And I used to be, usually, typical me, I'd be cross if I didn't get 18 out of 20 in. Well, I went back there 20 years later. That long jump pit is this big. Like, it's a school long jump pit. It's 8 foot wide and it's 16 foot long. You know, I'm hitting from 100 yards, I guess. And I'm cross if I've missed it from, so again, that's setting Nick Faldo up, setting my golfing DNA up. I mean, you've got a kid who wants to leave school because the club professional says, yes, he's good enough. And I went to my dad and I said, well, I could go for an assistant's job. And that paid £4 a week at the time. And my dad said, well, I get £4 a week from you from child allowance, which I'd have to give up if you're going for a job. So it's the same, it's equal. So I might as well look after you. And you go off to the range and hit balls. And they never came down there and double-checked what I was doing because I guess they knew from the outside watching, I was engrossed. It wasn't like I was skiving. I could be skiving on myself, wouldn't I? I wasn't, you know. I went down and I did this all the time. The other bit was that I then went to the Open Championship when my dad drove me up there in '73 to Troon. And I loved it. And I just was just so engrossed. I just sat on the range and watched everybody. Watched Weiskopf and Nicklaus and Gary, Arnie. So I then came back to Welwyn Garden with all this in my mind, and I imitated them. So I'd do the Jack Nicklaus chin turn, and I kicked my knee in like Gary, and as I said, I keep talking like Trevino. You know, so I used to then go out and play against these guys. So I'd practice all morning, and in the afternoons I'd go and have matches against Johnny and Weiskopf. So I'd pretend I'm Weiskopf, standing there, addressing it like this, and Johnny going like, you know, like this. So unbeknown to me, look what I'm doing. I'm visualizing all the time being somebody else doing. So, and again, you're constantly seeing positives because you know, Johnny Miller's just hit a fade into 5 feet. I've got to beat that.
I suppose we first crossed paths when we were sort of 15 years of age as juniors, and we were playing some of the local competitions, played in the Hearts Boys Championship. in the early days, I was a bit better than him. You know, his handicap, I can remember some of the tournaments, you know, I'd be about 4 and he'd be a 12 handicapper and such like. So, but he was a very fast learner. By the time we both reached 18 and we'd played in the English team championships as boys, our games started to even up.
Yeah, and again, I was frowned upon really as a junior. And could I never forget, you know, I was just around there one Sunday morning and this guy came up to us, hey, do you want to play in the medal today? I said, well, yeah, I've never played a medal, you know. He said, come on, let's go. And so we whizzed across to the 10th tee and we went and played because I shot 72 minus 5, 67, sitting at the bar, and because the captain comes over and says, we have to disqualify you. I said, really, why is it? He said, well, you teed off at 10:45. Juniors are not allowed on the course until 11 o'clock. How many more medals do you think I played? Well, I will never forget, because it was probably the most exciting tournament, or my most excited reaction ever was when I won the Berkshire Trophy, amateur event, 1975, May of 75. I won that. I think I shot 10 under par playing with the big ball, because at that time it was, you know, had to find him in the bushes, mind you. But and I won that, and I was so excited. Because you went to the phone, no mobiles, you had to go to the club phone and put your money in, I guess. Called home, nobody at home. So it was like just me, and I'd only just learnt to drive. Yeah, I'd only started driving, I think, in that April as well. And I had this most wonderful trophy. I mean, it's about this big. And I just plonked it in the driver's seat next to me, and I drove home, and after about a mile, I wound the windows down, and I'm screaming and shouting. Couldn't believe it. And so that was, I guess that's why you love to win. Simple as that.